Another thought while I was washing the dishes right now when I was thinking about my last live, and I was talking about the deprogramming that I'm personally going through right now, and really realizing how many times over the course of 30 years we're being programmed, right? Within the first 5 years, we're being programmed by our family and our community and the people that are around us, depending on how they got programmed. And then we get into the educational system. And then if you choose to go into higher ed, that's another cycle of programming. And then when you get out of higher ed and you graduate, depending on how many degrees you want to get, it's another form of programming. And so for me, I just got to a point where I didn't like the results I was producing. You know, I was just like, and not producing, like being productive and things of that sort, and like capitalism, but it's just like, I didn't like the way my life looked. Just like full transparency, I didn't like the way my life looked. And so I wanted to come on here and just be like, if you like where you're at in your life and you love the way your life looks and you feel like, you know, you are living the best life you could be living as a human being, kudos to you. No need to do it. But I speak for myself. I was not happy with the results of my life. And that's why I've decided to take responsibility of my own BS, you know what I mean? And realize like, hey, like everyone's doing the best that they can. Whatever programming I received, my family was just doing the best that they can. The teachers, you know, all these things. But I was like, you know what? This is on me. This is my responsibility to have an honest conversation with myself and ask myself in every area of my life, am I fulfilled with that? Am I happy with that? Am I content with that? Or are there areas of my life that I'm settling in? And so I've gotten to this point where I'm at right now, where I was like, most of the things, most areas of my life, I wasn't happy with. You know, am I happy that I have the peace, the internal peace and eternal peace that I have? Absolutely. But that also to some extent came with some sacrifice in some areas. Like for me, it's keeping my circles small. You know, I'm very protective of my spirit because it's so sensitive. It's so sensitive to the things that are out there, the things that I'm putting into my eyes. Like even with like Halloween right around the corner, like that is not, I do not participate in that. My little spirit gets, no, she's a little scaredy cat, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, and I have to be sensitive to that, you know? I have to be attuned to that and realize like, yeah, like this is the holiday seasons are coming around, and you know, depending on who you are and the research you like to do, like asking yourselves those questions about like, why do we do the things that we do? That's really the big question I've been asking myself is, why do I do the things that I do? What happened before, during, and after so many certain events that happened in my life? How many stories and narratives have I created around those events? And how can I change that? I believe that was the first thing I started doing was like, oh, this event happened when I was 12. I was outed at a young age and I lost all my friends, right? And I was like, how can I tell that story differently? How can I tell that story that's more self-serving and more empowering and impactful than just like, woe is me, you know? And so I took it upon myself to be like, every person I meet, how can I tell this story differently until I tell the story how I wanted to see in my life, you know? And I've gotten to the point where like, it was a blessing in disguise, because that's when I started beginning my personal development journey. Because I was like, ooh, there's something wrong with me. Like what? I didn't, you know, have any other idea or thoughts about it right then and there. But I was like, well, maybe, you know, I have this part of my identity of this queerness, but I was like, but there's other parts to me that I can develop, right? And so I picked up the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, you know, and then I think about that. I'm like, was that a double-edged sword too? Because then I've programmed myself that there's probably something wrong with me when there was nothing wrong with me at all, you know? So that's the kind of work that I'm talking about, is having to be accountable to myself and be like, what decisions did I make, knowing the best and doing the best I could at the time that I did, and how did I program myself, you know? And now, you know, being 30 years on this earth, I'm having to ask myself, at what points did I program myself with the music I was listening to, the books I was reading, the people I was hanging out with, the movies I was watching, the TV shows I was watching, and how can I just do those things differently if I don't like the results I'm creating? So I just wanted to jump on here because, like I said, I was washing the dishes. I was like, you know what? This is not for me to like tell people how to live. I just wanted to be like, hey, like if you don't like where your life is at, there's a level of personal responsibility that I've taken to be like, what have I done in the past that has led up to where it is right now? Because what I'm learning right now is that everything is created twice, once in our minds and then in our reality. So I started asking myself, like, well, what thoughts am I having? You know, and one simple way that I was having very lustful thoughts. And I was like, why do I have lustful thoughts? And then I started thinking, I was like, well, what kind of music do I listen to? And I was like, oh, I'm like always listening to R&B music, or I'm always listening to pop music. So I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Trey songs, why I'll be thinking about those things all the time, right? So I'm just like, it seems so small, y'all, but it's so subtle and so pervasive. And again, like being on this device, it's so important to like be in control of it so it's not in control of you. So again, that's why it's like I have this tension where the two things that I really love is helping people put a death to their distractions so that you can start wielding your truth out into the world, not everybody else's truth. This is just my truth, you know, but like also at the same time, like really connecting with people and growing with people, and getting to hear their stories, because that's truly the reason why we're all on social media, because we love stories. We're storytellers, we're story consumers. We want to sit around the fire. Y'all, this is the new fire, but we have to realize that the fire can either warm us or burn us. And so there comes like an honest conversation with yourself. Who's in your feed? What is the algorithm pulling up for you? Are you getting burned, or do you feel warmth when you see that kind of content? So again, I just was like, you know, there's people out there that love their lives, and you don't have to project that if they don't like it, you know, do something about it. I was speaking to myself. I was like, I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like my reality. I still don't like my full reality. There's a lot of great parts to it now. I'm so grateful that like I'm in the best shape I've ever been. My mindset is in the best place it's ever been. The people that I do have around me, I feel truly loved by and like cared for. And I'm building a relationship with these doggos over here. I've never had pets in my life, so I'm just like Nebula and Nova. Like there's a whole relationship that's fostering and cultivating for the short time that I'm here. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, what don't I like, you know? And how do I change that? And just realizing that I have the power to do that. No, for me, my belief, the software I'm putting myself, no person, no system, no anything can hold me back from the reality I'm meant to live and the reality that I want to live, you know? And for me, again, the software I'm putting into my mind is that my desires and my discontentment is because God wants to live fully through me, you know, that I'm just an instrument. I hope that I'm a saxophone or drums or something like that. But let's be honest, I'm probably like a harmonica or like a triangle. I'm just kidding. Who knows? What instrument are you? But for me, I was just like, I have a discontentment because my desires are like holy desires, you know? It's like, if I was just my human self, I honestly, my goodness, my needs are so low. Like, I have a roof over my head, I have some food on the table, like, got a few good friends, like, I'm good. But, like, there's just something in there that's, like, it wakes me up every day, like, to keep trying, to keep figuring out, to keep unraveling, to keep revealing. And, like, I've had no reason and answer for it in the past until I've realized during this reprogramming, the programming that feels good to me in this season, I was like, oh, that's God that wants that for me, because they want more of that for themselves, and they want that to be existing here on earth, and they want to use me to help bring that onto the earth. And I'm just like, that sounds like a big assignment. But I'm also like, what else am I here for? What else are we gonna do? What else are we gonna do? I don't know. So that's why I said, you know what, I'm just gonna tap in. You just tell me what you want and I'll do it, because what I want is something real simple, real settling, really easy, you know. But if life is truly as short as they say it is, technically, because I'm working on my workshop, y'all know that I'm working on my workshop, my death to distraction workshop, talking about how life is short. I recently put a clip in there from Muhammad Ali from 1971 and 1976, and he added up all the math. The math was mathing. And he said that we technically, after all the sleeping and the traveling, the showering, the hygienic stuff, all this stuff, being in school and being at our jobs, we technically only have 16 productive years left if we're so lucky to live into our 80s. And this was back in 1971, 1976, in the 1970s. So I was like, only 16 years to be like awake and conscious to like do something with this life. And I was like, I can only imagine that number has probably decreased a lot, or maybe it's increased a lot because we're living longer. I'm not sure. But whether it's 16 years or 20 years or 7 years, I know that this thing right here is taking up years also. So I'm just like, come on, y'all. Stop watching me. Get off this thing. I'm gonna get off too and go walk these doggos. All right, I hope y'all have a great Wednesday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.